Welcome into the Fantasy BS show. It's your boy Fantasy B with your boy Smitty. We're doing our first episode ever, so this is episode one. So we're planning to mess this up pretty good. I hope you all make fun of us. This is our league podcast, so we're going to be doing this every single week. We're going to have some risers, fallers, some good shows, some bad shows. Let us know what you all think when you're done. So Smitty, what's up, man? Tell us about yourself. What's going down?
Um,
Um,
First off, it was
First
nice
off, it
meeting
was
everyone
nice
after
meeting
the
everyone
draft.
after the
I
draft. I
wish I could have
wish I could have
stayed longer and met
stayed
everyone
longer and
like personally, but
personally, but
I was on a bit of a
I
time
was on a bit
constraint.
of
But
a time
yes,
constraint.
the
But
draft
yes,
was
the draft
fantastic.
was
I had such a great
fantastic. I
time
had such a
there.
great time there.
How did you feel
Bro,
about
you
the
were on
draft?
a mission, man. You were straight up on a mission. You show up in a Jamar Chase jersey with the 103, thinking like, oh, you know what? No one's going to go wide receiver, wide receiver. You show up arrogant as hell with an ego about who you're drafted, and then you're like, you know what? Screw you. I got my guy. I'm going to see Bay. Dude, that's how you rolled, man. You came in and you stomped, bro.
That was the plan.
That
That was
was
the
the
plan,
plan.
and
That
I'm
was the plan,
so
and I'm
happy
so
it was
happy
pulled off.
it was
And
pulled off.
honestly,
And honestly,
based off the mocks
based
I
off the
did,
mocks I did,
it could have went
it could
many
have
different
went
ways.
many
So
different
I
ways.
was kind
So
of
I
prepared to
was kind of
pivot, but
prepared
I
to
really
pivot,
didn't
but I
want to
really
because
didn't want to
that
because
stack, the
that
Joe
stack,
Burrow
the Joe
and
Burrow
Jamar Chase
and
stack
Jamar
is
Chase stack is
possibly the
possibly
best
the
stack in
best
football.
stack
There
in
are other
football.
stacks
There
that
are
kind
other
of
stacks that
compete,
kind of
but
compete, but
if we're gonna do like
if
a
we're gonna do like a
101 of
one on
stacks,
one of
I think
stacks,
it's that Cincy
I
one.
think it's that Cincy one.
All right, so let's let it rip, man. So let's have a little draft recap here. So obviously everybody knows, man. We did a live draft for the first time. This is my third time in this league. I absolutely love it. Third year, first time we've done a live draft. It was awesome getting to know everybody, kind of what you do, where you're from. Now I feel like we're all friends and kind of a nice family. I thought it was one of the coolest things ever. So thank you, Tony. Really appreciate everything you did. Smitty, did you love the draft? Tell me about your thoughts of it. Do it again? I mean, what you think?
Absolutely. Hold on one second. It says does everything look good on my screen?
No, no, I see you, man. You sound good. Everything looks good. The issue's not your Gibbs draft. I know that. So,
Yeah. Oh, okay. You know what? Let's talk about that real quick. So we all have an idea of what round two looks like, right? And I want to say you when you stepped out the gate and got Garrett Wilson, which by the way, phenomenal move. I have five stars.
all year, all summer, you know it's my guy.
Yes, yes, and it just kind of forced everyone to reach a bit, and I was really afraid I was going to lose Gibbs because I needed him. I needed some type of anchor on him, and I felt like he was the perfect player. So I had to jump, had to get him, much like you got to get your guy, and I feel like kind of we all kind of did the same thing in that round.
Yeah, it was definitely an interesting round. I will tell you from my aspect, then we'll start breaking some teams down real quick, at least about who we feel, did well, who didn't. Um, Dude, I went through this whole off season, no joke, doing best balls with all you guys. I mean, just best ball after best ball after best ball. Dude, I was not planning on going a zero RB strategy, and I even sent WCast, who we'll talk about in a second, a DM a week ago and said, "I'm glad you're not into fantasy footballer, so I can tell one person that I've been duping these guys out all summer, so they think I'm going to go zero RB again, and I'm going to draft Bijan in the first round." And I pass on Bijan in the first round, and I couldn't do it. I just went straight zero RB, even though I really plan to get Bijan in that first round. I don't. G Willie was on the board, man, and man, I mean, Rogers is just so cool, man. Calling him special, I'm in. I'm sold.
I'm gonna talk about Rodgers later, but yeah, I wanted to get Bijan as well if one of the two were to take Jamar Chase. So I don't know. It could have been me, but I'm glad it wasn't.
Perfect. So, who's your favorite team in the draft? Who you think did it?
Favorite team? 100%, no questions asked. I love Sadisco's team. I love it so much.
Yeah,
She got the King Bijan. She got him with Patrick Mahomes. She also got the Mahomes Tony stack. Her running backs are gorgeous. Her receivers are gorgeous. Oh, I was so mad when she took Keenan Allen. And you know, probably the one thing I don't love about this team is George Kittle, but when he booms, he booms. So yeah, we'll see her in the playoffs.
I don't like necessarily kill on her team, but it did snipe me pretty good because I was building that stack coming through with Purdy on that side of it. But I gotta holler at one of the other ladies in the league. I love Hillary's team. I've gone back and forth. Her entire draft, it was really balanced, but she went in and did something that I really went into this draft wanting, and that was Waller and Daniel Jones stack. I think that's going to be something beautiful this year, and I think that that was a really league-winning move for her. But then she went and drafted Mike Evans, which I don't think is a league-winning move. So, but I do really love her draft so much. I think her team looks just absolutely incredible. So cheers to the girls, man. I think you two are off to some definitely front runners right here. Anything else about the draft you liked?
Well, just speaking on G Hill real quick, really love the way she handled the quarterback situation. It Tua may have seemed like a reach, but at the end of the day, Tua's gonna be top 12 with potential for top five, so that's great. And then Daniel Jones, we know how he does with his rushing, and plus you got stacks galore with that team. Yeah, I think that's a good one.
Yeah, and she grabbed Herbert on that back end in that 8-12 slot, which I really liked. Um, you know, Lazard, absolutely fantastic pick. If you believe in Rodgers, I mean, talk about. I mean, I know a cup of coffee and breakfast is pretty good, but I mean, those two, I mean that's about as tight as you can get. But seriously, two is a great pick right there. Because if you think about two, I mean, we've been drafting him in best balls all year. I've been drafting him at that three turn, and that's basically what that was in the second round. Which, by the way, I really appreciate someone. I forget who said that to me. I totally forgot that the second was really the third, and you drafted Gibbs. I'm like, how you drafting Gibbs in a second? I was totally going to get him in a third. Oh well,
I'll
man.
admit that was a real reach on my end.
But yeah, all in all, I thought it was awesome. I hope we do something like that again. I thought it was pretty killer. Cheers to you, Kamish. You got us in one of the most oldest, stalest English pubs we possibly could ever have been in. I mean, seriously, there was
The
three.
best music ever.
Dude, there was three people at the bar that looked like they've been sitting there smoking cigarettes and their ass prints are in the chair for the last 30 years every single day, dude. That was off strip as perfect as you could possibly get. So cheers and I really appreciate that. All right, so I don't have any good drops. This is our first time that we're doing this, so we're going to be building into some music drop things like that. But let's go ahead and kick it into news and notes from around our league. So first off, we got to say our goodbyes. I know we've talked about that. We kind of brought it up during the draft, but we got to say goodbye to some people, man. And it really it breaks my heart because these guys were super awesome, at least for me, in this league. And that was Andre and that was Dub Cass. And of the two, I will tell you that I listened to one's advice once and not the others, and it cost me both times because Andre got me to buy in on Brandon Ayuk my first year in this league. Horrible decision. That was the doghouse year. Then I didn't listen to Dub Cass and lost actually a championship last year because of the Derek Carr and Devontae Adams snow game. So, man, these two, I've got really cool memories around them. We're going to miss them. I always thought they were good hearts and souls to the league. I mean, they're original founders, but, I mean, why don't you say your goodbyes to us, Smitty?
Well, let's start with Andre real quick. Adios, you Niners. Bye. And I mean, oh, I have so many great memories with the guy. I mean, one of them really wanted to be together. Well, I think it was. I don't want to get into the story, but maybe it was between him or me in the playoffs. And it's just Devontae. I mean, Devontae people score like minutes of the point. So remember, this game is a game of luck at the end of the day.
Oh, totally. I mean, but Dubcast, man, he put his research in. I love how that dude is always build teams, and I'm gonna miss 100% knowing when I'm drafted next to him that he's gonna take that vet, and I don't have to worry about that because I'm gonna give my young guy 100% of the time. So I wish I had a 40 ounce or something, pour out some liquor, but I'm not that witty to pre-plan. So Smitty, why don't you start with the welcomes?
All right. So we have two doctors to welcome, which is pretty sick. We have Dr. John and Dr. Jamie. Jamie and John. Game of Thrones characters, by the way. But I actually want to talk about John's draft really quick.
Hold on. I'm back.
And
I'm back screen. I got to pull this up, man. I'm a rookie at this. I can't go back and forth here. All right. Let's see what the Dr. John's got here.
I just want to mention the fact that Jonathan Taylor. I'll even throw in Travis Etienne, Kyle Pitts, Kyler Murray. If all the I was too scared to draft even Rasheed Rice. I was too scared to draft all of those guys, right? Because I'm worried about their situation, immediate and long term. But if they hit the way they should, he might have won. And I have to see him week 1, so that's scary. But I love how when we're in Vegas, we got to make those bets, and he made bets consistently. So I don't know. He's a team I'm looking out for. So shout out to Dr. John.
You got to do it. Sometimes the bets pay off, sometimes they don't. That's why they call it a risky strategy. But as I look at Dr. John's, I got to tell you, man. So drafting this year, the one thing I had a hard time doing is I know everybody in this league. I've been best ball drafting. I know your guys' what you're looking for throughout the course of, how you're building your team. I had no idea what Dr. John was going to do. And he was on a side of me that I actually planned on. I wanted Purdy in like that ninth or 10th round because I really mocking, keep going to get that. But I'm going to talk about Purdy later. But I had to reach for him, I believe, in the 7th round because he only had one quarterback, and I had no idea what he was going to do, and I was not going to let Purdy get out of my claws because that's how I built my whole team with that zero RB kind of going down to anchor also with him there. But it's terrifying when you're drafting with people you don't know. It's you yeah, no, Dr. John absolutely crushed. That was cool. And I got to tell you, so for Dr. Jamie coming in, so we played in fantasy leagues with Jamie, and she's incredible. Like I love the way she builds dynasty, but now getting a different respect for her, seeing how she builds a redraft. Like yeah, I mean it's totally cool when you break down her team. Let me pull her up real quick. She was there. She is,
It looks
Jamie.
like G Hill sniped her Tua stack.
Oh, totally. Oh God, that would have been great. Yeah, that would have been good, but I like her drafting Trevor Lawrence up top. I think if personally me, I like to grab that second quarterback a little later, like I like Purdy, some of those people later. But when you have someone that can legitimately be a top 10 person and to start 9 starters, I mean to anchor though, just anchor with that and then come back and get Gino later, it was absolutely perfect for her because it would have been interesting to see where she was reaching later to go get her 2 quarterbacks. But Joe Mixon's going to smash this year. I mean, do you think
Yeah, Joe
so?
Mixon as her running back 1 is perfect.
I don't want to hate him too, Smitty. Like, I really don't want to like this guy. Like, yeah, I hate, you know me, I hate running backs in general. Like, if I could, like, literally just send them all out the pasture and we don't even play the game with running backs anymore.
Whoa!
Oh, no. I would totally be up for that. But the only problem is it would kill my draft strategy when you guys are all drafting them. So oh man, I hate running backs, but for some reason I want to hate Joe Mixon. He's like, if I think about that whole team, like I love every player. Is not a player I don't like, then I'm like, you know what? Is there any way we could maybe like, oh, why can't Jalen Warren play for them? Or like, why can't someone like I really want? I mean, just absolutely. By the way, I apologize up top. I've got the TV on because there's a glare off it. If you guys saw the Roku sign up there, I just want to let everyone know they are not a sponsor of this show. Um, My bad. My bad. I had to do it. I actually had that one all. That's why I actually put it up there. I want to make you guys laugh. So, you know what? We've had a couple new drafters coming in. I think they did a great job. 2 completely different draft strategies. But when the day's done, our hearts get broken with one side and we welcome new people into our family on the other side. So, cheers. Welcome to the league. Now, Smitty and I, we've been texting back and forth. I actually looked at my top people I text on a given day and my favorites, and somehow he's in my top 3. I don't know how. Like either I don't text that much or we just text too much about fantasy football. So that's why we put this show together. And one thing I've learned about Smitty and I, we have very different philosophies, although we do still have some that are very similar. And Smitty loves his running backs. I mean, you love your running backs. Like, I can't talk you out of running backs. I mean, when are you going to stop loving running backs?
Stop being awesome.
So, like, circa 2019, 2020?
Honestly, when I think about the Rams, my favorite team, I'm fond of really
Hold on, kick that mic a little closer to you. There we
when I
go.
think about the Los Angeles Rams, okay, there we go. When I think about the Rams, I really have the most fondest memories of their running backs. Gurley was such a beast. I remember when Cam Akers came on the scene, I kept calling him Wonder Kid because he just kept surprising the hell out of me. So I don't know, I just really enjoy seeing them. And then remember when Derrick Henry threw a touchdown pass?
Oh, that was incredible. That was
That was
incredible.
so cool. Yeah, I'll never not like a running back. They're just so cool. Wish they got paid.
You know what exactly? I don't hate running backs. I hate running backs for the philosophy of how I like to play fantasy football. I love watching Derrick
I
Henry
completely get that.
run the rock 30 times. I mean, nothing's better when you get a like the Christmas Kamara game. I mean, like that to me is better than the Gabe Davis blowing up for 4 touchdowns, on a playoff game because it's like it's high T. It's like, dude, we just ran the ball down your throat. So I probably should say that I don't completely hate running backs. But so we want to talk about some risers and fallers. I mean, Smitty and I mean, we can all agree on Jamar Chase. We can all agree on Justin Jefferson. Like, there's some players that we've like planted our flag on all season. Like, if anyone knows me, it's Justin Fields, Lamar Jackson. I mean, there's just players that I'm going to have on my team no matter what, especially in a dynasty, but we're not talking about that here. So here are some risers that we've changed some viewpoints on throughout the course of the off season, and we'll kind of go one by one. But Smitty, who's your first riser that you weren't necessarily that big on at the beginning of this, but you definitely are like, you know what, let's get him on some teams.
I would have to say it is my number one riser is my QB2 in this league, Jordan Love.
Woo!
Jordan Love.
So by the way, everybody, I sent Smitty what mine were. He didn't send me what his were on these risers right now. Oh, dude, man, I don't know if you just heard me. Like, man, I'm gonna propose to you. You're on my side. All right, let's hear it. Give me the case.
So great offseason. When they got the chance to start him, he looked ready. I hate to say he looked ready. It's unfortunate to have to be behind a such a legend. So we didn't really get to see him be him. And he even had a couple starting games last year that I was really not against, but the offseason, just seeing him make this rapport with these with the rookies and Christian Watson and Dobbs again, just made me say, hey, you know what? I think Green Bay's all right. I think they'll be just fine without A Rod. They might even be, I want to say better, but I feel it. I feel it.
I'm so feeling it.
Who's your right?
No, we're not jumping off Jordan Love. We are not going to jump off of that
Okay.
because I have spent all off season and I've been down and out for about 4 months. So I've started some new dynasty teams. I think everybody is very well aware that I've done over 300 best ball drafts all in right now. Oh yeah, just absolutely crazy. But I've done nothing but absolutely crush Jordan Love on almost any fantasy football team I can, no matter what the format is. And one of my favorite stacks, you saw me build it all years. I'd come around and grab Christian Watson, and then I'd jump Jordan Love right at the back end of that, especially if I was on those turns. That was like my favorite thing to do. And I remember beginning of the year, you're like, all right, Love, yeah, yeah, yeah. And then it's been building, so I feel pride. I feel like I brought you onto that train. That hype train's big, dude.
You might have. You might have, because at the end of the season, at the end of the offseason, he is my for sure de facto number one riser. So yeah, I think I completely turned around.
I love it. I love it. And I'm going to tell you that you grabbed Love, you snaked him from me, kind of where you were drafting in there, and then I had to kind of pivot onto Purdy. Um, but I love it. I love it. So I got to pull up my notes here real quick because I forgot what order I want to put these in. So when we look at these risers and fallers. So yeah, I actually want to talk a little bit about Brock Purdy here. And I know you guys all heard me say that. I drafted him early a little bit ago because I didn't know how Dr. John was drafting, but somewhere, and it was right around, if anyone's done it with us, it was we did this best ball draft this year. We drafted opposite of how we started thinking. And right about during that day, I started really thinking about Brock Purdy. And I started thinking about that offense. I think he's a top 10 quarterback. I mean, I just, something in the last 2 weeks of this life has made me just fall in love with this guy. And, I think I've said this a few times to a lot of my friends, but I want to play fantasy football my way. I want to watch players that I want to root for. And I want young, talented people that we have no idea what their ceiling is. And that's all I want. You don't see vets on my team too often. I just want to attack that. And Brock Purdy, when we looked at what he did last year, I mean, I don't have the statistics in front of me. I should have pulled those up, but I think it was like 3 interceptions to a lot of touchdowns. He was a top 10 quarterback when he was in there. The dude doesn't turn the ball over. He ran, Trey Lance, look, he sucks. Okay, we can say it, but he ran him out because you know what? There's no way that they don't give Trey Lance another shot at that job just with the draft capital they put in because they're not turning it over to the other Sam Darnold. But he ran him out. I mean, when your coach says this is what really got me was Brock Purdy has to melt to not have the starting job. Kyle Shanahan said he would have to melt. I was like, I'm in. I'm in. I hate the Niners. Everybody knows I'm a huge Cardinals fan. But you know what? Let's let it rip because, I like his weapons. His weapons are huge. I will tell you in our format, I wish he ran a little bit more, but he'll get 3 or 4 rushes in there for a first down here and there, grab some points. So I thought, I don't know, man, something the last 2 weeks I wanted him on every single team I possibly could. And he was a really big target of mine going in this draft with the strategy I put inside. So let's hear your second one. Let's make the case for it.
Before we leave NCB, I think he was phenomenal value. So great job. Another riser you said?
Yeah.
All right, let's go with Chig Okonkwo.
So no D-Hop fears.
No D-Hop fears at all. In fact, so the great thing about D-Hop is he's going to force Tannehill to be better. He's just going to help Tannehill be a better quarterback, hopefully. Still an issue, even though they drafted an O-lineman in the first round, that O-line has not really entirely improved. So if we got this QB3, in my opinion, dealing with a crappy O-line, he needs that tight end. So Diop's going to do what he does, but he's going to have to rely on Chig, or at least until Treylon Burks comes back. But I feel really good about Chig's usage while this O-line is trying to figure itself out.
I love it.
I think that's my main reason.
I love it. So when you think of Chig, I think of another player I'm a little high on that, if anyone heard me curse in the draft, I was really ticked. And I actually, no, this was the Jaylen Warren one. We'll get into that at some other day. I'm still burnt on that one. But there's a point in the draft, it was towards the end when I sat back and I don't say this too often in drafts and say I made a mistake. And what that mistake was to me is I drafted Chig. But then I realized at the back end, my target that I've had going into drafts all year was Juwan Johnson. And I got really disappointed in myself that I actually did not wait to draft Juwan Johnson. I drafted Chig where I did. So how does that compare to you for someone like Juwan Johnson? Because I think they both are the same player to me right now.
And yeah, I think I agree too. I mean, my biggest thing about Chig is he's gonna really help out when that O line falls apart. I do like the Saints O line a little bit more. So my thing about Juwan is he's a great weapon. So I'm excited for Carr to have that option. Like that's the Saints are a sleeper. That's just one.
I know. Then we go into where Darren Waller blew up. Derek Carr targets his tight ends, but I love both players. I want them both on my team. It's just to me where I'm drafting them right now. But I love Chig. I love Chig. And God, man, I wish D-Hop didn't go there. I wish D-Hop went to somewhere like Kansas City or just anywhere else where Chig, that I'm not even having that debate about. I mean, I'm talking about Chig's a top 5 tight end in my book if D-Hop isn't there. But I love it. I love you rising on him, man. I absolutely love it. So I'll jump into my my number 2 and Flowers, man. Flowers. Just that touchdown he took to the house in preseason. I've been hearing it, and anyone knows me. I actually did a rebuild in a league where I blew up a team, and I really shouldn't have. But I planted my flag that Bateman was going to come back and be the wide receiver 1 on that team, and I went in the offseason feeling that. I went through the draft process, and I really like Zay. I really liked him, but I didn't think he was going to step in and be literally the wide receiver 1. And I listened to what he said right after the draft, and it was awesome. His interview, he puts that hat on. He just says, they're talking to him like, what do you want to say? He says, Lamar, let's go, baby. Something like that. I was like, all right, this kid's got some confidence. But everything they're talking about at training camp. I mean, I'm to the point where I'm sniping Bills fans to go get him and saying I'm reaching on him, you know. So I really, I just think the sky's the limit for him. You know, I think they're going to open up that offense. I think if anyone knows me, I do believe my vote for MVP this year is in Lamar's camp. I might have some mud on my face by the time this is all said and done because this could be Denver all over again. New coach, new incredible offense. I know we're not bringing a new QB, but the reality is a lot of hype goes around new systems, and the majority of those times when you statistically look at it, it does not work. So the fact that I'm planting my flag that this is going to be a top three offense in football and Lamar is going to be an MVP this year, it's scary. It's scary for me to think that, but I'm all in on Lamar, so I got to be in on his wide receiver one. Even though he's got a tight end who is his wide receiver one, they're gonna. Lamar's not only going to throw over the center of the football field like he's done the last 3 years, so he's going to get it outside. So I'm huge on Zay, man. I mean, how do you feel about him?
Um, well, I guess I want to start here on a homer tip. OBJ was the main man for the Rams' Super Bowl run, especially for the Super Bowl. We really had all of our chips on him. And now that he's back and healthy again, I still believe in OBJ. So I think he's gonna. I know it's weird because he's much older and he's a veteran and he's not the guy he used to be, but I think Zay still has to see that, man.
No, I agree. And OBJ. Good thing about him is he's not those tall, lengthy guys like AJ Green, Julio, and those players that keep getting injured and can't come back. I mean, the smaller, lighter player can come back from those injuries. I love that you're still rocking him because I mean, yeah, he's a big part of that Super Bowl. By the way, Smitty, did I forget where I read this the other day, but OBJ was talking about how the entire game plan on that Super Bowl was meant to go off him all game. Like he was saying, it was the first all season that he was going to be showcased, and for him to go down like that, I think it was in the first or second quarters, like right at the game. It was so sad because he could have had those 3 or 4 touchdowns in that Super Bowl.
It was wildly upsetting. I don't know if you remember the DFS game that we did for the Super Bowl that year, but yeah, I had to make him my captain because I kind of just knew that we needed OBJ to go off. Obviously, lost the DFS, but I still believe in him.
Oh, for sure. I'm going to play my flag on today. Look, he's not going to be a top 12 wide receiver. I don't know where I'm going to put him in my ranking, but I'm going to tell you that is someone that I want on my team much more now than I did a little bit ago. I mean, I think he's locked in top 36 wide receiver. And just like any other, I
Oh,
think,
100.
yeah, it's going to be the way he's going to be different. I think he's going to really excel back half of the season, but I think he's going to have a better start than some of these other rookies do. But one of these wide receivers has to be the number one in the class. So you know what? That's where I'm making my call. So you got a third for us? Did you put a third together? I was just
Uh,
saying, someone's got to do it.
I love that. Okay, third. Sorry, give me 1 second. Go with Marvin Mims. He's like the ideal last pick. Got him in a lot of best balls. Did not get him in any dynasties, and I really hope he fell to me in this league. But it's all right. So Broncos offense was terrible last year, just straight up terrible. But th- it sucks to do this, but I mean the Jerry Judy injury, just as bad as it was and unfortunate as it was, it does give other players opportunities to step up, and I think Marvin Mims is ready. And I really hate to base this off an injury, but it's part of the game. It's what we can't ignore it, and it's gonna really look good for Marvin Mims. I think he has the ability. We just need to believe in Sean Payton. We need to believe in Russell Wilson to step it up. And because I mean, like literally last week when they played the Rams with the most horrendous score I've ever seen in my life, Jared Stidham was feeding that boy. So I believe in Marvin Mims. Perfect last pick, and I think he's gonna. I think he's gonna. He might really like start off a little better than Zay, honestly.
You know what? He's got a really good chance. So just to let all of our millions of listeners that we have going on with this original, first episode of this podcast, We're recording this the night of August 28th, and Smitty has not watched the Ballers Live episode. So, if everyone by the time that this drops will have seen that. But, Smitty, I'm going to tell you, you've got a much different take on that offense because they talk about some similar things, but at not one point did they bring up Mims' name. And the entire time I was listening to what they were saying, I was like, what about Marvin Mims? And then when you shot that text to me, I was like, oh, yeah, I'm on board with this 100%. So I think that's solid. I mean, I don't believe in Cortland Sutton. Sutton, do you? I don't. I mean, I believed in him last year.
I I've been burned by him multiple times, so no, not really.
Yeah, all I'm saying is Allen Robinson. I don't know why. It just seems like they're the same player for me. Right as they get to the end of their career, it's just I mean they're the same player, dude. You're gonna hear all this stuff. They're having killer training camps, and then you're done, dude. You go up against a CB1 and you're done. So my last one is, and I can't believe I'm going to say this. This is something that's happened in the last week. And I know you read it when I sent you the email of who I was going to talk to, but I'm sure it surprised you that I want to talk about Brees Hall. Um, I didn't want anything to do with Brees Hall. I don't have one share of Brees Hall in any format on any team because I have specifically avoided him all year. And part of the reason is I don't like the injury. I was avoiding him before Cook got there. And it just has to do about that injury right off the bat. But the more and more I'm thinking about Aaron Rodgers, the more and more I'm starting to think about what he likes to do. He needs the alpha wide receiver one on the inside that will work in that red zone, but he needs a guy. He needs a guy that's going to go out there and catch screen passes. I mean, how many sides have we seen a Green Bay back over the years take a screen pass to the house and work in that, catching the football in the red zone? I mean, Aaron Jones. Look, if Aaron Jones did not have Aaron Rodgers, I don't think we are ever talking about him being a relevant running back in fantasy football. I believe that is Aaron Rodgers related. And he's on the back couple ends of his career here. Will have some good games because of what he's learned from Aaron Rodgers. But I mean, dude, he could have gone to die on another offense. So something about Brees Hall, I mean, I'm just like, who drafted him in the league when I said, was it Joe? I forgot who drafted him. I was like, oh, I was
Yeah,
like,
she has a damn near perfect team.
she does, dude. I'm really jiving on Breeze. So, and I think we both agree on that one. I just think it would surprise some people that know me well and have been doing some best balls. But let's keep it going here. So, all right. So, ballers who obviously have inspired everything we do in this league. They do their my guys. So we're gonna kind of give you a little version of our my guys right now, and I'm not going to copyright. We're not going to do that, are we? We're not going to copyright their ideas, are we? Huh, Smitty? We're not going to do it. No, we're going to call them my dudes. I mean, come on. They're my dudes. Let's go. Smitty, rip your first my dude. I can't wait for you to talk about this one.
You know what? I've been looking at my list here, and to be honest with you, I gotta just reduce it to one. I just got one singular mega smitty sato my guy. I mean my dude. Whoopsie.
My dude. Come on.
And it is Christian Kirk.
Woo!
I loved him last year. He really okay. So here's the thing with the Jacksonville Jaguars. It is one of the easiest teams to follow the money. Like if you see where the money goes, things happen, right? So they paid Christian Kirk a lot. He got hyper targeted. They gave Aaron Ingram the bag this year. I wonder what's going to happen. And now we look at Calvin Ridley. He took time off due to mental health, which is super respectable. But I'm glad to see him back, and I'm glad to see him on this offense. But his deal, though, is not necessarily. I mean, it ain't Christian Kirk's deal. It's not Evan Ingram's deal. I think he's still on a rookie deal, but the money alone tells me it's kind of a prove it situation. So while Calvin Ridley's gonna have these boom games, I think there will be a bit of bust involved, and Christian Kirk will be as consistent as it gets. I will never take him out of my flex, and uh, y'all can just bank on that. I will not. I will keep him in the flex.
I feel like this
And
is
when Jamar
spicy.
Chase, oh, is it really? Like I don't think so at all.
No, not at all. I feel it's a little spicy.
No, I mean
So,
I get the love for Calvin Ridley, but got to see it. He had time off, and that's gonna affect him in some way.
So I love it. I'm a Christian Kirk fan. I'm a Cardinals fan. We underutilized him. I mean, it's just like he was better than what he was here, and I love it. I love it. I made a speech about Evan Ingram before I drafted him. I mean, it was a full blown speech at the draft. So, dude, I absolutely love it. I love it. And what I do love even more than that, so I'm looking at our pre-show notes here, and I'm going to let our, millions of viewers out there go ahead and know the only reason that Smitty can only talk about one is because he's dropped Chig and Mims, who he was going to talk about as my dudes, into his absolute risers, which means your my guys have been created like recently.
Yeah, yeah, they have.
Oh, that's fantastic. So you're going to really make me go through three of my guys on here because I happen to really like all of them. So I'll do a nice little rundown here. Um, so I planted a flag on Justin Fields. Last year, I made a lot of speeches that Justin Fields was 1 year behind Jalen Hurts. And if anyone listened to me, I was the number one person saying Jalen Hurts is going to break out. He can throw the football because in today's NFL, you can teach anybody to throw a football. Anybody. So I thought he was a year behind. I still believe that. I think Justin Fields, I think they're going to light up I think they're going to throw the football all over the place. I don't think they want him to run the way they did last year. It was just a product of the environment of the team they had. They had no wide receivers. So if you look at, you follow the money and you follow the draft picks, every time a young wide receiver that could not pass the football goes and gets a true number one, and people want to talk about now we want to question whether or not DJ Moore is a number one, when all we've done is complain the last 3 years that this is the number one wide receiver, just doesn't have a quarterback. So now they're skinning the game for these two to really grow together. Camp News has come out good, but just think about all the other people that couldn't throw. Josh Allen couldn't throw the football, Smitty. He couldn't throw the football at all. Goes and gets him Diggs, throw the football. Just like I say, Hurts couldn't throw the football. Absolutely couldn't throw the football. Go get him that wide receiver. And there's a couple other examples, but I'm going to run through this list pretty good. Now, I hate the fact that I'm going to put a my dude on here that they put as a my guy on the actual episode, but I can't go against the grain. The family, the Brian Armstrong family, all summer. I've got Johan Dotson on almost every single football team that I have. I know Smitty, you've watched me do it. He has been, go get me a 9th round receiver. I want that guy on my team. It just fits the build. 2nd year wide receiver. I've never been a Terry McLaurin fan. He's never been on one of my fantasy football teams, not because of lack of talent, but that had to be about QBs. But now we have to have a conversation with Terry McLaurin is you've missed your window. You've missed your window. You're I believe a 27-year-old receiver right now, which is technically your prime. But for what I want to see on a trajectory of a player, he's missed his window, and Johan Dotson has just entered that window to me. So if I have a take on which one's going to be the wide receiver one, I don't think I care. Maybe they both get 50%, 50-50 on targets, but I know who's going to get more touchdowns at the end of the year because that man's a touchdown machine. So that's a take on that one. You feel the same way on Dotson? You really haven't talked too much about him this offseason.
Because I see them both similarly. Yeah, Dotson's. I know the truth. Okay, here's the truth. I don't really care for that team offensively, like in any way. I don't know. I have to see them do something because I'm not really with it. Sorry, I just don't care for the Commanders.
All right. Well, then I'll go ahead and throw it down. The next one, but my other two my guys, or my other my guy is what I feel is the same person. Just the Washington Commanders backfield. And part of the reason these are my guys is, look, I like building my team wide receiver heavy, young, athletic. I like to have speed and size on my wide receivers. So I am constantly trying to find where's my running back value in the draft for my particular build. And all off season, I have not given two craps which one I got. So if Brian Robinson went off the board first, sweet. I'll grab my champion on the back end of it. My champion goes off first, sweet. I'll grab Brian Robinson on the back end of it. And that's what I loved about what Adrian Dundida did. I didn't talk about his strategy because I think everyone knows that obviously I feel like that was a really good build he did with being kind of that zero RB. But he did exactly what I did. I grabbed Gibson, he grabbed Robinson. And it's just like that's literally all season. That's what I've been drafting. And the one playoff game that I saw Robinson and Gibson on the field, the majority of the time, that those starter reps, Brian Robinson was getting passes thrown to him at the same clip Gibson was. At least it looked like it to me. So I think they're the same guys. So I just think that if you're drafting and you need that running back after that eighth round, just any one of them doesn't matter. It just doesn't matter. And if you're on that turn and you've got your option on both, I say take a different player than one of them and grab the other on the back end, same player. And you're probably going to hate that because I just took two of my dudes on the same football team without choosing, by the way, Sam Howell because that's copyrighted to Jason Moore. So anything else?
Your strategy there is very sound. I mean, it is the perfect move, the perfect RB1. I'll give them that. I mean, it does feel a little risky because there's no Derrick Henry or even a Cam Akers, but
Yeah.
they do have pass catching ability, and that is valuable alone. So I mean, this is sound strategy. I like it.
Yeah, I mean, I think when the day's done, they might end up with the same points. I mean, I think Robinson might get more touchdowns. Gibson gets more passes. Pretty much every format we play in it really is PPR at this point. So it's all going to kind of equals itself out. Um, Anything else on the My Dudes? Anything else you want to add before we hit the next one?
I just want to give a quick shout out to Desmond Ritter. He is surrounded by weapons, and they're big as hell.
Man, so when we first got on here for our millions of people again that are watching this, that's the first thing Smitty told me. He's like, you made me start thinking about all the weapons he has around them. And go back and watch. I don't want to break down the statistics, but go watch the Ballers live. Mike Wright, I think, gave some really good one-sided analysis on statistics of quarterbacks that or offenses that throw the ball like 23 or 24 times that are on the lower end. They significantly jump up by, I think, 50 passes the next year. So 50 more passes in that offense throughout the course of the year, that's some good fantasy points. So, I mean, you're going to have to pick somebody in that offense. So I love it. All right, so when we drop this is going to be a surprise to everyone on this pod. And by the way, this pod again is called the Fantasy BS Show because all we do is talk about BS in this world. I did let one person know we were going to drop this. Nobody else. I let the commission know because we'd have not a mailbag. What do you want to call it, Smitty? Because we can't call it a mailbag. What do you want to call it?
Message.
All right, we have a message. So let me ask you this, because this is what the commish sent in. By the way, our commish is a little dedicated. I love Tony to death, but I asked that guy for one question. He sent me four. You're getting one, Tony. That's it. That's it. All right, so commish is going to start this one off, and this is the question. Smitty and myself thought was kind of a lot to talk about, but it says, what are the upsides of aggressively trading, and how does such a manager know when to stay put? I'm going to put the ball in your court because I know you're about ready to have some strong feelings on this one. It's oozing out of you.
All right, so aggressive trading. Let's start here because this is something I need to remind myself even today. When you decide to trade, you have to ask yourself two questions. Number one, what does this team need? What was it lacking? What do you need to improve? And number two, what am I actually willing to give up in order to improve? Number one. Once you really have that conversation with yourself, then yes, you can do all the aggressive moves you want because you already have a plan. You know what you're willing to give up, and that's just take that. Just that's really all I have to say. It's just you have to really understand what your goal is. Now, earlier today, I'm not going to say who, but I did try to make a trade today, and my objective wasn't really that sound. I looked at my team. I freaking love my team, but I'll admit I kind of wanted some homo representation on it, so I tried to send out a trade with a shaky objective. And when this person declined it, I was so thankful because I realized it is not. It would not have helped me in any way. It just would have. The objective was shaky. The objective was bad. So make sure you have an objective and make sure you understand what you're willing to give up. So Once you understand those two, you can trade as aggressive as you like. Now, when to stay put, you just gotta understand that you are solid where at every point. Yeah, sorry, I'm tripping over my words.
No, it's all good. You're rocking it
I
out.
think I just made my. I think I made my point. I was about to
Okay.
go on about it again.
So maybe I have stronger feelings on this question than you did. I thought you were for sure. So the one thing that drives me nuts. So what you say is absolutely perfect. So understanding what you're trying to accomplish, like that's first and foremost. But if we're doing a podcast and we're trying to teach people things along the way about how we think about things, the number one thing that you need to do is understand your format. And I know everyone that we have on here knows that, but it's not just necessarily your scoring. It's how many starters you have inside of your lineup. Because depending on the number of starters that I have to start is going to depend on what my objective is and what I'm trying to do. And it's really important. So if we take just an old school structure where you're running, we'll even keep it into a super flex, talk right now. But let's say you got, your QB, your two running backs, your two wide receivers, your tight end, and then you run a super flex, so a start eight. If I'm looking at start eight, I'm going to aggressively trade because the only thing that I care about when I'm starting 8 players in a super flex or even 7 players in a one QB league is the most elite players at every single position I possibly can. So I need to understand what I'm trying to do there because if I'm only starting 2 RBs, then let's be honest, like there's only really 10 RBs and really 5 that probably matter in that league. And same with QBs. So I don't want depth. I don't care about depth. I'm trying to win a fantasy football league. And when I look at winning, I don't care about second any longer. I've played to try to have depth and all that many, many years ago, but if I take second, I'm just as bad as who took last in the league. I don't care. I didn't win this thing. So for me, depth doesn't matter to start eight. I am aggressively getting into the point where I have the best 8 players I could possibly have in there, and I'm willing to give up a lot to get in that. Now we stretch that lineup out and we start looking at a super flex and we're starting, let's say, 9 or 10, because I know I play in a lot of formats with everyone on, that's going to be listening to this, and we play and start tens usually, 9 or 10s. And if I'm looking at a start 10, I'm not necessarily aggressively trading because when I think about aggressively trading, I think about going to get Justin Jefferson. I think about going to get, Jalen Hurts or the onesies when you have, Travis Kelce or someone like that. So when I'm going to start 10, I kind of kick back. I don't need to be as aggressive. I'll let you guys go fight to go get 3 or 4 of the elites because I need more depth on this team. So I'm not going to aggressively trade. I'm just going to trade for my needs throughout the year. If I got a player that goes down, maybe I'll try to leverage some trades, get a 2 for 1, somewhere in that mix. So understanding your starters in a league is absolutely huge. It's more important when you're trading than understanding the scoring format that it's in. At least for me, because if it's a half PPR or one PPR, that doesn't mean as much to me as how many starters. So first, that's what I would say. Now, when you look at the rest, you got to have a game plan. And when you start thinking about, let's say we're week 12 and we're kind of, right about the playoffs or week 10, 11, somewhere in there, you've got to start looking at those schedules in the playoffs because again, I don't necessarily care who my first round of playoffs matchups are against. I care about who they are in the last match because if I lose the semifinals, doesn't matter. Same as I lost the finals. All I care about is my matchups in there. And if I can just have enough to get there, now I've got the leverage and I've got the team that I want to go win a championship. So I think it's important to understand that because when you get to week 12 and you've accomplished some of these matchups and these players you want, depending on how many starters you have in there, now you don't need to aggressively trade any longer. And I guess I took it a little deeper kind of than what you said, but it's important to understand that you don't trade just to trade. I can't stand that. I get, between all my dynasty leagues, just drives me nuts throughout the summer. I'll get these most ridiculous trade offers, and it's freaking April. And I'm like, I'm not trading a running back. I'm not trading for a running back in April because they're going to get injured in training camp. Like, that's just people trying to make a trade for a trade. So if you find yourself bored of making a trade for a trade, you're doing nothing for yourself. You're not accomplishing anything other than losing your league. So there is a point where you should be done trading. And then obviously if something happens, injury comes up, yes, then you need to pivot, but you should be focusing on what you want your matchup to be in the final championship game, because that's, to me, that's all that matters. And I saw you laugh about that, Smitty. You're like, damn, okay, like, do you want you? All right, you took third in this league last year, right? Me and you played for a third place game and you smoked me. Do you really care you took third in this league and I took fourth?
Yeah, you're right. I would rather have been first, honestly. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
That's a really good point.
yeah, the only person that you can one up is me because you kicked me out. You won for third. Okay, sweet. So you'll always forever have that over my head, but you won't have it over against the other 10 people in the league. So that's kind of what I looked at the commit. On that is, yes, you need to stay put sometimes. You do, but have a goal in mind. Also, keep in mind that everything we talk about, I mean, we all want to play fantasy football differently. And that's kind of why Smitty and I started this podcast is we play fantasy football different. And you're really coming to my side of things though. That Jahmyr Gibbs pick, nobody is bigger on Gibbs than me, dude. Like that Jahmyr Gibbs, like I feel like proud of you. I'm proud of you.
I just really needed the best running back available. That's all that really was.
And
I just needed the best running back.
And the funny part about it is, if you look at everything we've talked about, I don't think you've heard me talk about Bijan once this entire offseason. I've seen you give up more in a dynasty league for Bijan Robinson on a team that cannot win
consistently
everywhere. I haven't said one word about him because that's who my first round pick was going to be in Triple C this year. And I didn't do it. But when the day's done, I brought you into my hype train, and you brought me into yours with Bijan when the day was done. Even though I didn't draft him, I was still there at the end, and I definitely wanted him. So, all right, we've run about 51 minutes here. I think this is great for the first episode. By the way, anyone still listening to this episode that I'm sure no one paid attention to after 2 minutes, because why would you? But we want you to send us some questions here, because I want to address a question that anyone from this league might have. And I know this is something Smitty and I feel really passionate about. You can email myself, because I got a cooler email than Smitty over here. It's Brian with an I, so that's Brin. So let's go Brian at triplecballers.com. Just shoot me an email and we'll get all your questions answered. We'll be dropping this once a week, right?
I like it, once a week.
Yeah, what do you want to, we haven't even talked about it. Let's just do this live on the air right now. When do you want to drop it? What do you say? Thursday? You want to drop it with it's football time?
Oh. Yeah, that's awesome, actually. Yeah, let's do that.
All right, let's do that. So bear with us. We will make this more entertaining as we go. I'm telling you, we're going to have music in here. We're going to have drops in here. There's a reason we got all these really cool microphones, which I took off of here. But we're taking it seriously. So appreciate you guys going through life with us in fantasy football. But Smitty, you got anything else before we end this?
Yes, everyone, please re-listen to what he just said about trading. That was phenomenal. Oh my God. Brian Armstrong, everybody. That was great.
Back at you, Smitty. Sorry, I thought you were going to be way more passionate about that than me.
Not at all. No, you went off, sir. You went off.
All right. I usually do. I talk for a living. All right, cheers. We'll catch you guys next week. Cheers.
See you.